I might arm wrestle you for the who's the biggest fan. Because if you, oh shit, we can't tell. It was destined to happen someday.
Ya pasó mucho tiempo, pero al parecer le está yendo mejor.
¿Podría decir lo mismo de usted?
Un alcalde sirve a la ciudad.
No puedo dejar de sentir que está manipulando el sistema.
¿Por qué abandonó su puesto de vigilante?
Una línea se cruzó.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Today, you're gonna get a lot of people telling you that they're the biggest fans of the show, all of that. They're liars. I am the biggest fan of the show.
I knew it.
And I think that this show has like a cult following, I would say. Like, people love it or hate it, like they love it. And I am wondering, when this project came to you, did you think of that? Like, do you think, oh my God, the fans, or like, what came through your mind?
Oh yeah. I mean, because I might arm wrestle you for the who's the biggest fan. I mean, I love Daredevil. I walked into a comic book store in 1984, picked up a comic by a guy named Frank Miller, and it changed everything. Doing right by the fans and doing right by my inner fan was 100% what made me take the job. I mean, they came to me because they knew I was a geek for this stuff. I was like, I love this. How can I help, is for lack of a better word, or how can I be a custodian, or how can I take this character into the next place? So yeah, fans, people who love this material, people who love this character, people who love this world, they're on my shoulder when I'm writing it, and they're sitting next to me when we're sitting at the monitors. You know, like, yeah. The answer to your question is a resounding yes. And now I have to ask you a question. As a super fan, you saw the first 2 episodes. What do you think?
We need to talk about that later.
Okay.
We need to do that. But I am gonna ask about the big thing. You know what I'm talking about.
I know.
But you know, there's something really interesting about this production, because you have a cast that has been playing these characters for 10 years now. And I am very curious about the collaboration with them. Did they have notes? Did they have comments?
Oh,
Notes.
do they have notes? Yes, they have notes. The thing that's amazing, and because I'd worked on the earlier shows and I know some of the people involved, that you sit down with Vincent and Charlie and you have the scene and you get their input, and I'm not just saying this because there's lights on me and people are looking at me. Every time I sit down with them, the scene gets a little better. They find something that they have, that they bring to the table from playing these characters for so long, that are nuances, little things that turn into big parts of it. We were just talking about how anytime Fisk puts his hands on somebody, be very mindful of that because it means something. You know, they have a dynamic between the two of each other. There's a scene early on where they're facing each other in a space that we built, all 3 of us. So come on. Yeah, okay. So there's a moment in that scene where humor happens that was not originally on the page. And that came from one of them saying, well, it's got to have humor, and the other saying, it can't be funny. And then it became what it became. So that happens all the time with these guys. It's happening now. It happened yesterday. You know, we're working on season 2 now. And the process is they get the work, we polish it, we get really close to shooting it. There's always one more epic idea, and that's what ends up on the screen.
I cannot imagine how it is. You worked in the previous show, of course, and in Punisher, but I cannot imagine how tricky it is to choose what stays and what goes. Is there anything that you had to let go of, let's say like that, from the old show that you missed? Like, oh, we should have done that or something.
That's a really good question. No, not really, in that we always think about the old show as being where they were 7 years ago, 8 years ago, 9 years ago. So in the same way that every person, every character, everything evolves, yeah, there's like, you look back with a little bit of nostalgia, you look back going, oh, that was great, that was amazing, we love some of these characters, we love some of these places. But at the same time, to bring them into the now, to bring them into the promise of that napkin at the very end of season 3, there's things that fall by this wayside because you grow up. And I don't mean that in a condescending way. I mean, it's just like people evolve. So a lot of the time you look back for a glance and then you look forward. And there was nothing that we abandoned. There was nothing that we said, nope, because if you, oh shit, we can't tell. There are things that come back
Yes.
that you don't know and can't expect will be coming back.
Yes, we definitely didn't run away from any of that. I mean, I think we tried to use as much as we could with the time and money that we had. There's more we want to do. I've got a list in my office of all the things that we'd like to be able to do, and hopefully at some point we'll be able to.
But we do, in season 1 and in season 2, we revisit people and places that are very unexpected.
There's something that, of course it's coincidental, but the election of Fisk feels really timely, of a corrupt man rising to power and all of that. And of course you could have not planned that, but is there a process, like what was your thought process landing into a storyline? How did you get there?
It's from a run. It's from Charles Soule's run from almost 10 years ago now. No, 8 years ago now?
No, I think about 10 years or so, but yeah.
So the Mayor Fisk storyline happened before we even came in. And then it's exactly like you say. You take what I would call an archetypal story, which is a tyrant rises, somebody comes to power who may or may not, should or should not. That's a value judgment. And then you run with it. And we're really not we're not setting out to do current events. What's happening now is we're telling a story that is really, really, really timeless, that seems to be evolving in front of our eyes.
Yeah, and the thing to also like keep in mind is that, you know, Wilson Fisk is someone who's always loved the city and who always wanted to own it in his own way. That is ultimately who that character is. Like, yes, he wanted power, but he wanted to possess that power and he wanted to possess that city. And I think that was what was so interesting to us. Yes, it was in the original iteration of the show, he was going to be Mayor Fisk, but I think what we found was this idea of possession, control, and his relationship to the city, which again is very similar to Matt Murdock and Daredevil's relationship to the city. They both want to be saviors of the city in different ways. They go about doing it in different ways, and I think that commonality was really intriguing. So I feel like if you've read the comics, watched the show, this is what Wilson Fisk was always building to, and who knows what greater landscapes, you know, exist for him.
Yeah.
Okay, I have to go, but I have a really quick question. You broke my heart. I am seeking financial compensation for the emotional. Yes. And I want to know, like, if you have a message for the other heartbroken people in the world right now.
It was destined to happen someday. And sadly, of the people that we love on that napkin, in many different iterations through the books and everything, only one survived. And we knew that to change everything, we had to change everything in a big way, and we had to break some hearts in order to rise from the ashes. The decision was not made lightly. I mourn it. The story's not completely told, is the best way of putting it.
Yeah.
We knew we were gonna break some hearts. It kinda had to happen. We had to take Matt to a place for him to be born again.
Thank you so much for your time.